In 2018 I died. Jesus brought me back to life even though I was a devoted Muslim who had never believed in him. To me, he was just a prophet. My name is Fawzia. I am from Afghanistan. And I want to tell you how it all began. The streets of Kabul, Afghanistan in 2018 were full of fear and broken dreams. I was 32 at the time. My name Fawzia means victorious and successful. I was a woman who found peace in prayer. My days were filled with the soft sound of my prayer beads as I asked Allah for safety in our troubled city. My husband Omar was the Imam at our local mosque. He was a respected man who taught people about Islam. We had one son, Ibrahim, who was 16 and in his final year at the Quranic school in a nearby city. He was studying to become a religious scholar like his father. Life was simple but good. But everything changed one hot afternoon when a sharp pain hit my head like lightning. My vision went dark and I fell to the floor. My prayer beads scattered everywhere like broken dreams. Omar found me lying there, his face white with fear, his voice shaking as he called for help. He carried me to the best hospital in Kabul, a place with white walls and modern equipment. The doctors rushed over, their faces serious but hopeful, and checked me carefully. They put me in a special room because they recognized my husband. The doctors worked hard, giving me the best of treatments they had. For 3 days, they tried everything. But my condition kept getting worse. The head doctor, a kind woman with sad eyes, finally told Omar, "We've done everything we can. I'm sorry, but you should prepare for the worst." Omar immediately sent word to Ibrahim at his Quranic school. "Come home now," the message said. "Your mother is dying." Omar sat beside me, his tears falling on my cold hand, waiting for our son to arrive. The days after were dark for my family. Our house, once warm with the smell of Omar's favorite tea, became cold and empty. The sounds of war outside never stopped. Omar stayed by my hospital bed day and night, praying to Allah desperately, holding my hand like he could pull me back to life. The doctors kept checking on me, trying new treatments, but the machines showed that my brain was shutting down. Each day, they gave Omar less hope. "Her brain activity is decreasing," they would say quietly. "We're losing her." On the 4th day, Ibrahim burst through the hospital doors. He had traveled all night from his school, his Quranic books still in his bag, his young face streaked with tears. "Mama," he cried, rushing to my bedside. He was tall now, almost a man, but in that moment he looked like a little boy again. Omar held his son as they both wept. Ibrahim had been preparing for his final exams to become a religious teacher, following in his father's footsteps. But now all of that seemed meaningless. He knelt beside my bed, reciting verses from the Quran that he had memorized, his voice breaking with each word. Omar's mother came from her village, her face lined with worry, crying and begging Allah for a miracle. The 3 of them, Omar, Ibrahim, and grandmother, took turns staying by my side, never leaving me alone. After a week of trying everything, the doctors gathered around Omar and Ibrahim. Their words were like stones hitting their hearts. "Her brain is failing completely now, and hope is gone. Maybe it's time to say goodbye." I was lost to them. My body lay still, but inside, a strange quiet came over me. In that quiet, I drifted away. Time didn't make sense anymore. The pain faded, but I was aware. I was stuck in a deep sleep called a coma. The war sounds disappeared, replaced by a heavy stillness. Memories floated up like bubbles. Prayers at the mosque with my mother. Omar's gentle laugh at dinner. Ibrahim as a little boy, proudly reciting his first Quranic verses, his eyes shining with joy when Omar praised him. Each memory pulled at my heart. I wanted to reach them, to tell them I was there, but my body wouldn't move. The tears I couldn't cry burned inside me, and the doctor's hopeless words echoed in my mind. "She's dying." I felt a deep longing for something more. And then a light broke through the darkness, soft and warm, like the sun after a storm, pulling me toward it. The light grew brighter, filling the dark with a gentle glow. I saw a man standing there, tall, dressed in white clothes, his face kind and loving. I knew it was Jesus, even though I had never met him. His eyes were full of care, like he understood all my pain. He stepped closer, his presence calm and peaceful, and reached out his hand to touch mine. A warmth spread through me like a hug from the inside, taking away all the cold I had felt. He looked at me and said, "Fazia, I am here for you. Go back into the world and tell them to turn away from their sins. Tell them I am coming soon to take those who follow my teachings to eternal paradise. Tell them I am the way, the truth, and the life." His voice was clear and steady, like a friend speaking. I felt my fear slip away, replaced by a peace I couldn't explain. His touch lingered, strong yet gentle, like a promise. It was real, not a dream, and it held me safe. Then I felt a pull back to life. My eyes opened, the hospital's bright lights hurting after so much darkness. My voice came out weak but sure, "Jesus." And the room went silent. Omar gasped. Ibrahim, who had been holding my other hand and reciting Quranic verses, stopped mid-sentence, his eyes wide with shock. "Mama," he whispered, "did you just say Jesus?" The head doctor, who had been checking the machines, dropped her clipboard, her hands shaking as she looked at me. "She's awake," she said, her voice full of shock and wonder. I sat up, my arms moving, my legs strong, the sickness completely gone. Omar cried, pulling us both close, his tears wet on my shoulder, while Ibrahim held me tight, his face wet with joy and confusion. "Mama, you're back," he said, but I could see the questions in his young eyes. The doctors stared with their mouths open, unable to believe what they were seeing. The hospital became crazy with activity. The head doctor rushed back in, calling for nurses and more equipment. They tested me over and over with wide eyes, checking the machines that had shown I was dying. I moved my hands, stood up, and felt strong, like the sickness never happened. All the machines that had been showing flat lines were now showing normal, healthy readings. The head doctor ran test after test, her face showing complete confusion and wonder. "This is impossible," she kept saying, shaking her head. Her brain scans from yesterday showed severe damage. Now they're completely normal. Her brain is perfect. This can't be medically explained. Omar held me, his voice breaking as he thanked God, though he wasn't sure which God yet. Ibrahim stared at me with wonder and worry, his Quranic studies making him question what he had just heard. He kept touching my face to make sure I was real, but his young mind was struggling with what I had said. We went home that night, our house feeling different. The war rumbled outside, but inside it was quiet with relief. Omar sat by me, his eyes red but soft, asking, "What did you see?" I told him about the darkness, the light, and Jesus' hand on mine. His voice saying he was there for me. Omar's face showed surprise and then worry, but he listened. Ibrahim sat quietly, his Quranic school training making him think deeply about what I was saying. "But Mama," Ibrahim said carefully, "in our studies, we learned that Jesus was only a prophet. How could he heal you like this?" His question was respectful but troubled. At only 16, he was already wise in Islamic teachings. "I don't know, my son," I said honestly, "but I know what I saw and felt." Ibrahim nodded slowly, his young face serious with thought. We prayed our usual prayers as a family, but I added a quiet one to Jesus, my heart opening to something new. Ibrahim watched me carefully, his student mind trying to understand. The war pressed on, but that moment with Jesus was a beginning, a hope I couldn't let go of. The days after were strange. People from our neighborhood came, their faces curious, asking how I woke up. Some called it a gift from Allah, others a mystery. But I kept thinking about Jesus and his words. Ibrahim had to return to his Quranic school to finish his final year, but I could see he was troubled. Before he left, he sat with me quietly. "Mama," he said, "I will pray for you. But please be careful what you say to people." Father's position. His wisdom was beyond his years. As an Imam's wife, I had always been careful about what I said and did. People looked up to Omar, and I didn't want to cause problems for him. But the vision of Jesus was so real, so powerful, that I couldn't ignore it. I started asking quiet questions. At the market, I would whisper to trusted friends about dreams and visions. An old woman frowned and warned me to stop such talk, but a younger woman smiled gently and said, "Sometimes God speaks in ways we don't expect." Omar noticed I was different. One evening as we sat drinking tea, he said, "Fazia, You seem changed since you woke up. I nodded, my heart beating fast. I told him again about the light, the touch, the peace I felt. His face grew tight, torn between his faith as an imam and what I had experienced. "What are you saying?" he asked, his voice low and worried. I think Jesus is real," I whispered. "Not just a prophet, but something more." Omar's face went pale. As an imam, he had spent his whole life teaching that Allah was the only God and Muhammad was his final prophet. What I was saying went against everything he believed and taught. For weeks, we barely spoke about it. Omar would go to the mosque each day, leading prayers and teaching, but I could see the worry in his eyes. At home, he would look at me like he was seeing a stranger. I tried to be the same wife I had always been, cooking his meals, caring for our children, keeping our home. But inside, I felt different. The peace Jesus had given me was still there, and I found myself praying to him in secret. One day, I found a small book about Jesus hidden in the market. The seller, an old man with kind eyes, pressed it into my hands quickly. "Read this when you're alone," he whispered. That night, while Omar slept, I read about Jesus by candlelight. The stories of his love, his healing, his forgiveness made me cry. I thought of my own healing and knew in my heart that he was the one who had saved me. But as the weeks passed, Omar grew more and more troubled. Other imams in the city began to whisper. They had heard that the imam's wife was asking strange questions about Jesus. Omar's reputation was beginning to suffer. One evening, Omar came home from the mosque with tears in his eyes. "Fazia," he said, sitting down heavily, "the other religious leaders are talking. They say you've been asking about Christianity. They say you might not be a true Muslim anymore." My heart broke seeing his pain. "Omar, I love you. I love our children. But I can't deny what I experienced. Jesus saved my life." Omar was quiet for a long time. Finally, he looked at me with love and sadness in his eyes. "I believe something miraculous happened to you. I saw you die and come back to life. But as an imam, I cannot have a wife who follows Jesus. It would destroy my position, my ability to lead people." "What are you saying?" I asked, though I feared I already knew. "I'm saying that I love you too much to let them hurt you. There are men who would want to harm you for leaving Islam. They might even want to kill you." His voice broke. "And Ibrahim, our son's future as a religious scholar, will be destroyed if people think his mother is not a true Muslim. I won't let that happen to either of you." That night, Omar made the hardest decision of his life. He told me he would divorce me, not because he stopped loving me, but because he loved me and Ibrahim too much to see us both harmed. "If you stay here as my wife, they will come for you, and Ibrahim will never be accepted as a religious teacher," he said, tears streaming down his face. "But if we divorce, I can say I sent you away to protect the community. You can go somewhere safe and follow your new faith, and Ibrahim can finish his studies without shame." I cried all night, thinking about leaving my son just as he was about to graduate and become a scholar. Omar arranged for me to go to his cousin's family in Pakistan, people who would keep me safe and wouldn't ask too many questions. The day I left was the hardest day of my life. Omar held me one last time, whispering, "I will always love you, Fazia. I pray that your Jesus will keep you safe." Ibrahim had come home from school for this final goodbye. My tall, serious son looked at me with tears in his eyes. "Mama," he said, "I don't understand everything that happened to you, but I saw you die and come back to life. That was real. Maybe there are things we don't understand yet." I hugged him tight. "Be good for your father," I told him. "Finish your studies and become the scholar you were meant to be. I will always be your mother, no matter where I am. And maybe someday you will understand." Ibrahim nodded, trying to be strong. "I will pray for you, Mama. And I will study harder to find the truth about everything." I left Afghanistan with only a small bag and the book about Jesus. My heart was broken, but the peace Jesus had given me was still there, stronger than ever. In Pakistan, I lived quietly with Omar's cousin's family. They were kind but didn't understand my new faith. I spent my days reading about Jesus and praying. Sometimes I would receive letters from Omar, telling me about the children, but we both knew I couldn't come back. Years passed. I learned more about Christianity from other believers I met in secret. I was baptized in a small river outside the city, crying tears of joy as I went under the water and came up again, just like Jesus had brought me from death to life. The sacrifice was enormous. I lost my husband, my children, my home, everything I had known. But I never regretted following Jesus. The peace he gave me that day in the hospital never left me. I often think about Omar and wonder if he ever thinks about my story. I pray that someday he will understand that Jesus didn't come to destroy our love, but to give us a different kind of love, one that lasts forever. Sometimes I get letters telling me that Ibrahim graduated at the top of his class and is now teaching at a Quranic school himself. He is 24 now, a respected young scholar. I pray for him every day, hoping that someday he will understand why his mother had to leave, and that he will remember the miracle he witnessed when he was 16. Omar is still an imam, still respected in our old community. He never remarried. I think part of him is still waiting, still wondering about the miracle he witnessed when Jesus brought me back to life. As for me, I live quietly, sharing my story with others who will listen. I tell them about the day I died and met Jesus, about how he sent me back to tell the world that he is the way, the truth, and the life. The cost was high, but the gift was higher. Jesus gave me life, not just physical life, but spiritual life that will last forever. And for that, I will be grateful until the day I see him again.